Chapter 11. The Curiosity Shop. The odd sisters were right. Many years had passed since James was in London last. The woman who sold violets on the corner was much older, and some of the shops had changed. But the little shop in Eaton Square he had visited before he ventured to the many kingdoms was still there. When he entered the shop, the little brass bell above the door jingled, alerting the shopkeeper. While he was a great deal older now, no longer the young man James had met when he bought his first pirate clothes, he still recognized him. "Good evening, sir," the shopkeeper said as he came out from behind the curtain. "What may I help you with?" "Thank you, good man. I have several things I would like to sell," said James, opening the box. Inside were a jade brooch, jade earrings, and the book of fairy tales, and at the last moment he decided he'd try to sell the golden boot buckles as well, having slipped them in the box before leaving for the shop. He had left the mirror and iron clock back at the ship, locked in his desk, and had the key on a strap of leather he wore around his neck. "These are very fine, sir," said the shopkeeper, eyeing the treasures. "I'd love nothing more than to buy them, but they are a bit too dear for me," he said, frowning. "Would it help to know these were plundered by a great pirate and were brought here from a distant magical land?" asked James. "I'll bet that would spark the imaginations of the lords and ladies who frequent your little shop looking for curiosities." He could see the gears in the shopkeeper's mind turn. James could see why the man would be hesitant to buy so many expensive items at once, to have so much of his money tied up in his stock. But James needed to do everything he could to make sure he got the money he needed to help his mother. So he did what he did best. He talked. "Yes, can you tell me more?" asked the old man, and that was James's cue. He shared the story with the man as he took a turn around the shop, regaling him with Blackbeard's story, using dramatic flourishes and sometimes acting out the scenes. He wove a tale of high adventure and conjured images in the shopkeeper's mind, until he saw at last the man wanted nothing more than to tell the same stories to the people who came into his shop. While walking around the shop, James looked for the coat he had coveted when he was there last, the red one that had flashed in his imagination since he first saw it. He had little hope of finding it since so much time had passed, but then he saw it. The crimson frock coat trimmed in gold, the one he thought was fit for a captain. It was still here, after all these years. And alongside it sat a magnificent pirate's hat with a large white plume. "Do you have a place for me to try this on?" he asked as the shopkeeper examined the treasures in the box, eyeing them like a greedy dragon. "Yes, sir, right in there," said the man, giving James a queer look, and James wondered if this man remembered him and wondered how he hadn't aged. Then he laughed, realizing that, of course, the man was looking at him strangely. It probably wasn't every day a pirate came waltzing into his shop to sell his treasure. "Shall I take the cost of the coat and hat from the balance then, sir?" asked the shopkeeper when James stepped out of the dressing area, having clearly decided he wanted to buy the items. "Yes, thank you, good man," said James, "and I hope it's not a great disappointment. But I think I've changed my mind about selling the boot buckles. I found that I cannot part with them after all." He already felt selling Blackbeard's treasures was a betrayal. He couldn't sell the boot buckles as well. "I wager the other items will still offer a handsome price." James hoped he would have enough to help his mother even without the gold boot buckles, but he decided if he had to sell them he would, and that way he would part with them with less guilt. "Oh yes, sir, very handsome indeed," the man said, writing a figure on a piece of paper and handing it to him. "This will do quite nicely," said James, smiling, feeling the weight of his obligation to his mother lifted from his shoulders, as well as his obligation to the odd sisters, and he was happy to have something to remember his friend by. Not that he needed reminding. He thought of Blackbeard often and missed him greatly. "It has been a pleasure doing business with you, good sir. I doubt you will have any trouble at all selling these treasures, especially if you tell your patrons they were procured by a pirate." "Are you the pirate from the story, then?" asked the shopkeeper, his eyes wide. "No," said James with a smile, "but I am the pirate from my story." James left the little shop. his wooden chest now bursting with currency, and his heart filled with hope. He had more than enough money to help his mother, and he reasoned if Blackbeard were alive, he would approve of his choice. At least that is what he hoped. He did, after all, keep the boot buckles, and he had to admit he couldn't wait to see what they looked like with his new hat and coat. He wore the coat and hat out of the shop, feeling at last like a proper pirate. He felt alive, and he was tingling with excitement. He was getting closer to fulfilling his obligations to the Odd Sisters and realizing his dream. He was now embarking on the grandest of adventures, and he would soon be making his way to Neverland as the captain of his own ship and with a pirate crew at his disposal. Life was good, but first he had one last thing to attend to. He had to go home. James hadn't expected to feel such sorrow seeing his mother so much older and in such a state of grief. He saw her sitting near her favorite fountain, where she and James's papa would sit in the quiet of the morning. But now the gardens were overgrown, and his mamma's once inky black hair was streaked with silver. She looked lonely and heartbroken, but he couldn't bring himself to face her. He knew she would plead with him to stay, and there was a part of him that wanted to. He was all she had left now, and it broke his heart. He snuck into the house through the servants' entrance and put the wooden box filled with banknotes on her vanity, along with a little note. Dear Mama, I am deeply saddened to learn of Papa's passing and your current circumstances. Please accept this gift, knowing I have never forgotten my duty, nor my love for you. Most sincerely, James.